Welcome back, everyone, to the 950 Club. We are hot on the heels of our interview with the talented Rebecca Dene, and I held Jack over for a few minutes because I have a surprise catch up for you, my friend. As you all know, we all do our surprise catch ups of where we suggest shows to each other and then we watch them and surprise each other with, "Hey, we watched this show." So the show that I have for you today is Akame Ga Kill.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes,
Now
yes.
let's okay, I'm trying to think of like a good question to start off with.
Mhm.
Because we did a review of it for the Kill la Kill special, the
Yes,
Kill la Kill,
Kill
and
special. Yep.
Akame Ga Kill. And I want to start off this because I love this question. It's probably one of my all-time favorite questions. Because this is like balance beams for me. Which one do
Mhm.
you like better, and which one do you think is a better show? Akame
Oh,
Ga Kill or Kill la Kill?
man. They're both good in their own way. Um, man, that's a tough one because Kill la Kill is something I think we could all resonate with. And Akame Ga Kill, I think, is something that's, you know, eerily scary to what we're going through now.
Yeah,
Um,
especially the last couple months for sure.
Especially in the last couple months. So it is tough for me to say. Um, I think, yeah, I think,
Yeah, it's one of the toughest questions because they came out
man,
the same year. They have similar motifs.
yeah,
That
it's so tough.
in the
Um,
anime is different from the manga, but this tech like I consider it kind of like a weird anime adaptation, similar to Kill la Kill.
mhm, mhm. I think I probably enjoy if I were to watch these shows again, I think I'd like Akame Ga Kill a lot more.
I'm the same way.
Um,
It's one of those things where
yeah,
when I watch it, I'm like, this is one of the greatest shows ever made. But I
yeah,
love Kill la Kill more. That's the dilemma. It's always
Kill
that
la
backwards
Kill.
dilemma.
I think it took me a little longer to get into Akame Ga Kill. Um, Kill la Kill. This started off like pretty quick, and then they kind of hit a lull for a couple episodes in the middle there, and it picked back up. For me, Akame Got Killed started off a little. That first episode was good, and then it just kind of like tapered off for me a little bit, but then it picked up and it kept going. So, um, I think I like Kill la Kill a little more, but I think Akame Got Killed is the better show.
Yeah, I'm in
And
the
if I
same boat.
were to watch him again, I would probably think Akame Got Killed blows it out the water.
That's what I mean. It is such a tough
Yeah.
dilemma. Like I liked it from the go, but it was like one of those experiences where I would say it was like after Big Bro got killed. Because
Yeah.
I'm trying to pick up where you're
Yes.
like, okay, back and forth. That's
Yeah.
where I felt like, okay, I don't know where the show is going. I don't think I
Yeah.
like it that much. That's the thing. But then the following episode, more with Ezra, and yeah,
Yeah.
skyrocketed.
I agree. I think the turning point was when Big Bro got killed. When he got killed, I was like, "Oh, this show is serious. They're not messing around. They're they're letting these guys go."
Yeah,
And that was so. And I'm like, that's how it would be.
yeah.
Yeah.
The thing though is that more and more when I try to read more of the manga is that it was something about it was like kind of like a weird tone. It was like kind of like a silly fight when you think about it when Big Bro
Yeah.
got killed, but something about it where I'm like, is either really genius or it's like completely off the wall and this is gonna be the rest of the series. This would be ridiculous fights. No. They go back to square one. They get the new
Yeah.
team, the new villain team, and it's left and right and left what you don't expect. And there's no other show like it, honestly.
No, there it was such a well done show. And looking back at it under today's lens, like if they re-release that with like the today's production values, I think people would be
And
blown
that's
away.
that's
But
also jarring about when we did our special. Like both were like ahead of their time. Now they're
yes,
outdated.
I agree.
And
I
it's weird.
agree.
And
I think they still hold up pretty well.
yeah,
Like when you watch the shows of today, like we were just when we were talking about Rebecca and Apothecary Diaries. Man, you look at Free and like the production value in those shows is so good.
yeah.
And
And Apothecary is relatively cheaper, but
yeah,
it's still miles like what they can do with the budget compared to
yeah,
Akame.
yeah, absolutely. And so those fight scenes that they had in there, just imagine that with 2024, 2025 production and the things that they can do, it'll be amazing.
For me, I would like I'm pretty sure there is a live adaptation. I haven't double checked in a while, but
Mhm.
adaptation. Just go for it. Or even like Akame's
Yeah,
backstory. Because I have
yeah.
read parts of Zero and Got Kill Zero is okay. But
Mhm.
like making it into an OVA or movie, I'll vouch for that.
Mhm. I'd be all right with that. Like it was so interesting to me because it's like it's called Akame Ga Kill, and she's a prominent character in it, but she's like not the main character.
Yeah, and she has very little dialogue. She like every
Correct.
episode she has about 10, 12, 14, 16
Yeah.
lines barely.
Yeah. Very little dialogue, but she was always like she felt big.
Yeah, yeah.
She
And she's a
felt big.
presence. Yeah.
And for her to be like the last woman standing, that was something. That I was not I don't think I expected her to die, but hey, she saw so much death, man. And just that character, the story that she had to go through, uh, watching all these people die, and how much it affects her, like, cause she has that moment of vulnerability of having to witness so much death, and you know having to put her sister down, and it was so tough.
I
It
take it
was
that's she
watching
was your
that.
favorite character. If you had to pick one
Um,
favorite character. She's my favorite character in the show, but it's not my favorite fights or her fights in general.
the crazy thing, like I was waffling. I waffled between her and Esdeath
Yeah, yeah.
because
Ezra
I
is
liked her so much,
yeah.
and I felt for her because of just like the way she was raised, and she was such a good leader, but she was a sociopath, but she was
And
such a good leader.
and if we had to put a science towards it, like the years we've studied dictators and tyrants,
Mhm.
Genghis Khan, the best
Yeah,
ones just have that demeanor. She had that demeanor mastered.
yeah, yeah. She wanted. She was just like this is what I do because that's what she had to do from being a kid. Her father raised her, and as much as she did, he still thought she was weak. And that just drove her to those levels, and you kind of felt bad for her. At least I did, because I'm like, this girl, she has great leadership qualities. Because there was the point when she went off on some mission and they were going to give her reward, and she was like, "Nah, just give it to my men, because that'll help improve their morale."
She's a trooper. She's a soldier. She
Yeah,
knows the morale. Like that's what I mean with tyrants. Like
yeah,
Hitler, I don't advocate the motherfucker, but he
right.
rallied crowds. He rallied whole nations
Yeah,
of crowds to see one singular person.
she had that charisma, And it's like you said, it's she knew that that is what it would take to improve the morale for them to be able to run through the wall for her, but she couldn't care less about that anyway
Hmm.
because she just wanted to go off and start murdering people and find the one person that she could love.
Yeah.
And
And when I originally recorded with Edwin, and Edwin, we love him dearly, but he gets jarred. There's when there's a
yeah,
certain amount of death, he just doesn't want to. I don't blame him. But
yeah, so yeah,
there's a fascination towards that. I do appreciate we talk about Azareth more because there is a complexity with her. She's not crazy per
no,
se,
uh,
like the stereotypical crazy in the anime. Let me put it that way.
yeah, she has childhood trauma, man.
Yeah,
She has unresolved childhood trauma, and like you said, she has the skills where if she just grew up under somebody that could tailor those skills and put it in a different direction, she could have been incredible. But she had that trauma from her childhood, and people saw that and they took advantage of that. And now that skill set that could have been used for good is used for bad, and it's you just feel for her. You feel for her. She was like an ice princess. It was
yeah.
insane.
The number one.
The number one, and she had that one. What was the dude's name? The main character.
Yeah, and I wanted to give your feedback on that because he's an interesting hero. He's in the title itself is Akame. She's technically the
Mhm.
main focus, but the hero is yeah,
What
the
was his
one
name?
that Ezra falls for.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, what was his name? I can't. Can I figure this out on my phone while we're doing this? But he was an interesting character.
It's Sato,
Sato. Yes,
Saito,
yes, yes, yes. So,
or it's Tatsumi.
Tatsumi,
That's
Tatsumi.
the actor
That's
playing
right.
him.
Tatsumi. You're absolutely right. Tatsumi.
All right.
So yeah, Tatsumi. He was a good character. Um, like you said at the beginning, like just a kid that wanted to support his village. That's it. And that heartbreaking beginning where he's like with his friends and he
Yeah,
finds him. And, oh man,
yeah, and how they died was like still like the number one most gruesome scene, and there's a lot of gruesome scenes in it, but that
there's
one
a
was like,
lot of gruesome
ooh,
scenes.
yeah,
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 a lot of gruesome scenes in it, and that one was bad. And that turned this like young idealistic kid that I'm going to go do this. Like kids they have that disillusioned sense of things, and this is war. Like this
yeah.
is war. Like you're going to see death. Things are going to happen, and
And the
to
worst
see
kind
that,
too. Yeah,
yeah,
open revolution I consider the bloodiest for sure.
yeah, absolutely. And so you saw that family that seemed so nice, and they just killed the friends. And he's like, "Nah." The one friend's like, "No, don't trust her. She did this to us." And that second, he just turned. He turned as a guy that was like, "I'm not." Hey, he's looking at them like, "I don't want to be a part of any of this. I'm just going back. I want to go to the palace or the capital or whatever, be a soldier, so I can send some money back and save my village. That's all I want." But that happens, and it turns him to the other side. Like instantly, he's like, "No, no, no, y'all are evil. I'm on this side now."
Yeah, and that's where the seesaw battle between me and Kill is because
Yeah,
each character in Akame Ga Kill is double down. Even fucking Wave.
yeah,
I'm not crazy about
yeah.
Wave, but he's a good character. He
He was a
really
good
is.
character. He
Yeah,
was good. I
because
mean,
he's
and he,
literally one iota different than Tatsumi.
yeah, and his he kind of embodied everything when he was just kind of like towards the end when he was like, "What am I fighting for?"
Yeah, yeah.
It's like he thinks he's fighting for the right reasons, but then he sees more and more of what they're doing, and
Yeah,
he's like, well, what am I fighting for? Because he had this pride and he wanted to defend and protect, and he went into it with the right reasons.
yeah, yeah.
And he just got after all of the stuff that he's seen, he's like, what am I fighting for? Who am I fighting for? What am I fighting for? Like what? And so for him to end up helping Tatsumi in the end, it was something. And for a guy like that to not only help him but to survive, you know, that was a big thing. He made it. Tatsumi didn't, and you would think that Tatsumi would be the one that, but no, like Wave is the one that's kind of like carrying
No,
on the tradition.
it's one of those characters that could have done a switcheroo. Like he could have gone with,
Yeah.
yeah, the Colonel, and then I'm blanking on her name, but the best Colonel Furry's Japanese
Hmm.
kindred, and then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
She was a good character too. She was very good.
yeah, yeah. The only character I at least cared for was Big Bro because he was like a JoJo character. He was like, okay,
He wasn't exactly a JoJo character. Yeah, like I've never seen JoJo, and I'm like,
you just
did
know it. You just know it. It's like,
did
okay.
I click on JoJo accidentally?
And that's how rambunctious that show is, and
Yeah.
diverse, and yeah, it's an experience and a half, and you navigate it through there. But is there like any like weird things that are like that threw you off besides the sudden death and the stakes?
No, I mean, I like that it was a show that was not afraid to take those risks. Like, and it had a very grounded, authentic feel to it because it's like, look, man, this is war. Like, this is a war of class. This is a war of ideals. This is something, like I said, it's so it hits home for right now. Like, this is you look at Russia and Ukraine, it like that could easily be us very, very quickly.
Or
Very
well,
quickly.
and
Mhm.
specifically with the news of the United Healthcare CEO getting murdered,
Yeah,
and it's one domino after one domino.
one domino after another, and it's like and the funny thing is like I was like at my mom's credit union today, and the teller was talking to me about like the CEO getting killed, and it's like it's so telling that nobody is like feeling they're all just like, "Eh." And some people are even like, he kind of had it coming,
Yeah,
you know?
it's become an open meme. Like that's how I
Yeah,
handle it. Everything's a meme. In
yeah,
the graphic novel Watchmen, the comedian, he's like
mhm,
everything is a joke.
yeah, yeah. And it's like you people would generally feel bad about something like that, but people are so fed up with these insurance companies and how they're getting taken advantage of, where it's like that death, which one side wants to make it seem like, oh, this is so terrible. To the masses, they're just kind of like, but how many people did he kill denying them insurance, denying them health care, denying their claims? You hear people, and it all it did was spawn for people to tell their horror stories about that insurance company. Like, the shout out to Ernie, the shadow hand of the podcast, and he was telling me about all the insurance claims that he put in that they denied over the years. So like you hear something like that and people don't have sympathy for the guy. So now that puts everybody else on notice because it's like we don't care.
Yeah, yeah,
So this is this Luigi dude going to spawn a copycat? It was a insurance CEO this time. Who's it going to be next?
yeah. A precursor, unfortunately, with the Trump
Mhm.
attempted assassination. They had that was a domino effect. Unfortunately, it gave him more
That was it.
popularity. Yeah.
That was an inside job.
Well, we can go 12 on the theories. But all in all, it's just what it is.
I
You
mean,
like JFK. Yeah,
there's no theory to it. Like the dude that shot him the first time was a MAGA guy.
yeah.
Like we have this information. This isn't like
It's not
the
open.
negative stuff,
I mean more a sense of like,
but I get
the craziness of it. Yeah.
yeah the crazy chaoticness of it. Um, and that Akame got killed just plays right into it.
Yes, yes.
'Cause,
And you brought up a good point that it's timely. And
yeah,
in the Kindred, the precursor, the ultra influence for this show is Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist controls like the war aspects of it, but doesn't show
yeah,
the home side because the home side probably is disgruntled. They probably have like families outside of there. We don't get that
yeah,
perspective. Akame got kills the whole fucking sphere.
right,
Every like even though it's like not every culture or like denomination, it's the idea of like this government has to stop and we're going to
yes,
get the momentum when we need it, even with all this
yeah,
fear, even with all their allies.
yeah,
So that's why I appreciate Akame Ga Kill more
yeah,
because and another show that's another kindred to it, and another reason why I like the show so much is Andor because Andor is almost like the Cuban Revolution.
yeah, yeah. Ah, I knew you snuck Andor in there. But yeah, I could see, like you said, that they are kindred spirits in a way because it is that the beginnings of revolutionizing.
Well, not only that, but like the structure of Full Metal because it's
Mhm.
central, and then
Yeah, the central government agency.
yeah,
Yeah.
and tolls of death, like hidden wars kind of thing, tyrants, power,
Yeah.
ultimately power. And
Hmm.
even though Full Metal is more of the mythical side of it with alchemy and all that,
Sort of, but it's
yeah,
still the same premise. You guys have
y-
all this power.
yeah,
How
yeah,
are you exerting it? You know. Mhm.
yeah. And then alchemy kind of balances that with everyone having their random magical weapon.
Yeah, yeah.
It just cracks me up. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we got this big weapon we're going to use. We've been waiting to use it.
And they're
It's like,
sacred
where did this
weapons.
come from?
It's a sacred scissor blade.
Yeah, and I saw the singer. I'm like, Kill a Kill?
Yeah,
Like
motif. Yeah.
scissors? Yeah, it was so funny. Like seeing that, I'm like, what am I watching?
And Edwin's criticism originally was like, what they wear. Akame technically wears a schoolgirl outfit,
Mm,
and the radio girl, the one that dies, she wears
yeah, yeah, yeah,
headphones. It's
yeah,
technically because of the context of revolutions were more commonplace 100 years ago. Like similar to like Cuban, that stretch to Africa in general.
yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that the idea of open revolution is still modern. It's underscored history. So, one of my probably my all-time favorite classes, Latin American history, South
Mm,
American history, and you'd be amazed how close we are to like this idea of like total chaos. how we
yeah,
how we suppressed it, all in
yeah.
all, compared to
Mhm.
South America. So it's a show that rarely captures that spirit in a positive way,
Yeah,
not like
yeah,
advocating violence right
yeah.
off the bat. Yeah,
I agree. I agree. It's
because violence
violent
is
for sure.
yeah
It's violent for sure. But like you said, it's not just violent to be violent. It's they were like, we have specific targets for specific reasons.
yeah they're not blowing up the whole cities, not
Yeah,
like
we're not. Yeah,
what America did with Japan.
right.
No.
Yeah, we're not. They're not blowing up whole cities. They're not. They're really assassinations. They're really assassins that's going in there, and it's like, all right, this person's got to go. This person's a problem. If we get rid of this person, it'll set down these dominoes that we could, to kind of change things up. And that is like you said, that's revolution. Revolution takes place on many different fronts, man. There's got to be revolution in the courtrooms. There's got to be revolution in Congress. There's going to be revolution in the streets. There's got to be revolution in the media. There has to be revolution on all these different fronts for it to be successful and for it to work.
Yeah, precisely.
And
You're right.
sometimes violence happens.
It's the
Sometimes
last
violence.
resort, but it's the last resort, but the most sound resort. It's sadly a
Yeah,
tried and true philosophy. Sadly,
you gotta take out. Sometimes you gotta cut out the cancer.
yeah, yeah,
So it. But like you said, it was such a organic depiction of it that like I said, like watching it the first time, the setup was a little slow for me, but seeing it, if I were to watch it again, I would be amazed by it.
yeah, yeah.
I
The
would be amazed
appreciation.
by it.
That's why I'm
Yeah.
trying to catch up with the manga. I've only read up to like three or four, and there are differences. Uh,
Mhm.
but like the big thing is that Ezra is a straight up villain. The same ideology is there anyway.
Uh,
Nothing like crazy changes. Not like different character switcheroos. But if I may ask, because it's also one of the greatest like shows ever with so many fucking battles. Like in Power
yeah.
Dragon Ball and Power Jujutsu Kaisen. What's
Mhm.
your favorite battle in the whole series?
Um, I think Aquaman as Death was like the biggest.
It's the biggest. It's the most important
Um,
for sure.
yeah, and they put a lot more into it, but the sister on sister battle was so emotional, man.
That was Edwin's favorite. Yeah, yeah.
It was so emotional because it's she, she didn't want to do it, but she knew she had to.
Yeah, Kurome at the end is like similar wave, kind of like misguided, but
Yeah,
but like Ezrath sold on being misguided. Like,
yeah,
okay, I'm gonna do my job,
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing. So
yeah. It was Karome was, and she was a good character too. Um, and that sisterly bond was there, and you knew it was there, and she just wanted her sister, but they stood on opposite sides of the ideology, and it's like the only way I'm going to be able to keep you with me again is I gotta put you down. And it was so sad to see that, man, be just coming up from that clan that they grew up with and forcing them to split because that's they're all they had.
hmm
So to force them to split, man, that was heartbreaking. And you see the paths, the divergent paths that they went down. And, you know, I couldn't imagine what it was like to have to be the one to put the blade in your sister, right? So that was such an emotional battle. Um, that was
yeah,
probably my favorite.
yeah, and tie in with Kill la Kill as well. I forgot to mention that the sisters. I
Yeah,
mean, well, starting off as a villain was Sasuke, but
yeah,
yeah, kind of like what I appreciate more with Akame is that there are stakes compared to like Kill la
yes,
Kill didn't necessarily per se in the grand scheme of things had stakes in terms of like
mhm,
consequences, but it has stakes in terms of
yeah,
character growth. So,
yes, yeah, yeah. Especially once they got together
mm,
and went against Mother, it was like okay, there was no like she was guiding her all along. She didn't know it, but she was. But Akame, these were high stakes, man. This was high stakes, and they spared no one. They spared no one. It's like it makes sense for this character to go. They got to go. And even the villains they tried to make, into good people. It's like who's the dude on the bad side that had the family
oh yeah, yeah,
and
the torturer guy.
the torture guy.
Yeah.
And he was such a good guy, but you know, but even he knew he was like, I know it's going to catch up to me one day.
The
I
karma,
know
yeah.
it's going to catch up to me, and it's sad. You felt for him,
Yeah.
even though you might have thought he was on the wrong side of things. This dude he wasn't necessarily a bad guy, but he had to do bad things. And it caught up to him. And it just showed how there's good people on both sides generally.
And like the ones that practice being good on paper, the case study with ambiguous,
Hmm.
like you would see that type of person in Utah,
Yeah.
like very devout Mormon,
Hmm.
but in her own sphere and for good reason. Because if she
Yeah.
had that much power, just a little bit, there'll be no trial or jury. It'll be execution right off the
Yeah.
bat.
Absolutely.
No eye for an
Absolutely.
eye. Yeah,
No. So, man, it was such a good series, and I'm glad you recommended it to me. And you weren't the only one. I had one of my coworkers, Nancy, like recommended it to me as well.
was she the same one that did Kill Kill?
No.
Okay.
Um, but she told me about it, and I was like, man, Jack's been telling me about this forever. So I'm like, all right, I'll make time for this. I'll binge this.
Yeah,
And
like it's structured in a way where the arcs kind of like their own separate movies. There's
yes,
there's few
yeah,
stragglers. There's few stragglers. Not a lot.
yeah. It was structured differently. Um, because it wasn't like it didn't have like that 3 episode arc structure
Yeah, yeah.
that a lot of animes have.
It felt like 4 or 5, kind of like a weird because
Yeah,
it's 24 episodes. There's
yeah,
like one ish like chill
yeah,
episode. That's it.
yeah, yeah. There was the one where
It's like essentially set up for the second arc or like it's like second main core arc kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
like his little training stuff was kind of like where he had to train with all the different people.
yeah.
Those are pretty tame. Um, but like you said, they mixed in a little humor to
It's
break the
always at the
tension.
beginning of the episode. It's always at the
Yeah,
beginning of the episode, and I appreciate that. It's like
yeah,
this is a good show. There's a lot of
yeah.
dark fucking stuff, but we'll start off,
A lot of
happy.
a lot of dark, but they tried to mix in a little something to let you up,
Yeah,
and
especially the
it was
characters.
so
Yeah,
good. It wasn't forced.
no,
It just felt like these people that were just kind of like we're in the midst of this. It sucks, but we still got to find a little bit of motivation. And so there were those little funny scenes or a little funny quip or something, and they got you and it brightened you up, but then they brought you right back down. They brought you right back down, and it was just so well done. I thought the balance of it was good too. Um, I thought it was pretty well paced as well. It didn't like the comedy didn't take away.
no,
Like
no.
Kill la Kill had a little more comedy involved in it.
The
Um,
ridiculousness, even more ridiculous than
yeah,
Akame.
yes,
Akame's just like here's like flares here and there.
hmm, yeah,
Like
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 yeah.
like that one character shows up later, the one that becomes he's pretty much a special weapon, the one that cooks for them.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Bano,
Yeah,
something like that.
he's kind of like Ultron.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And he just casually cooking lunch for them
Was
one
it
day. Like,
Benny? Was it Benny Maru?
but Benny, something with B.
Yeah, yeah,
He shows up at the second character, and he dies.
yeah. Eddie dies because he was like, what was it? The captain that's like, I could pull away from his life force,
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
and that was the secret weapon that she had. And he worked hard, man. He was a good character. And as they said, they got you invested in him, and then he dies. And then he dies. But it's not like they just killed off people just for the sake of killing them off.
There's a point.
It
There's a point.
made sense.
Yeah, yeah.
It made sense. It's
Like
like the
like Jesus Kaisen will kind of have like that one random villain. He's kind of like could be troublesome, could be down the line troublesome, but usually like the Ghetto, for example, how he took care of that one
Mhm.
villain. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like cut and dry. So
Hmm. Very cut and dry. It was a man. It was that was a good. That was a really good series, and to pair and for you guys to pair it with the Kill la Kill episode was
And it's
very good.
not, it's really an anomaly. Like Akame, like for a good majority of Kaisen fans or ones that just watched Full Metal Alchemist, there you go. That's your shiny ticket right there.
Hmm. It's in that same vein. It'll keep you entertained. It'll keep you entertained, and anime has kind of like fallen into, and I kind of think Attack on Titan is kind of like the big reason for this.
Kingpin. I agree. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of fallen into that darker, the darker tones of things.
Like even
But this
Demon
is
Slayer
kind of
doesn't like go off the
right.
deep end. It's more adventure.
Yeah, it's more adventure. I mean, it's dark, but it's not like
Like Attack on Titan,
terribly
like
dark.
another
Right.
like semi kindred like Akame in terms of like the
Yeah.
politics overshadowing like the
Right.
real story. So yeah,
Right. Right. Demon Slayer was dark, but it's not bleak. Or like
it's not
Akame got
bleak.
killed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Akame got killed was very like it was so
it's like oh,
yeah, this this no good.
you think the world is that simple, huh?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And it's like there's more than two sides to this, man. There's so many different aspects of it, and both sides are just kind of trying to figure it out. And even after they win, and it's like, all right, you're going to be the president, you're going to be here. It's like, somebody like Akame, what does she do? You know, it's like, no,
Just
you're
does
here.
their
You,
thing. Yeah.
you can stay here. You don't have to do this anymore. But that's what she knows. So it's like I'm off to the next one. And it's sad. And like we said before, it's like they didn't just kill off people just to kill them off. Like they kept characters around.
Yeah, yeah.
It just wasn't the ones that you expect. And I appreciate that because if you're in a war, they're going to go for the high profile targets. They're not all going to live. Some of them are going to die.
It's
But you
rolling
have these
dice.
other ones here. Yeah, it's the roll of the dice. And, what is his name? Takamichi?
Uh,
Uh,
well, I was thinking of
Taka,
like Shield, for
something.
example. Like that was a reconnaissance
Right.
mission, a survey
Mhm.
essentially. But like the probability was like one of them won't come back. So we're just gonna have a
Right.
small amount of people,
Hmm.
and that's what happened.
Yeah. But they had to sacrifice themselves for the cause. The cause is bigger than me. If I can save you and you can finish the job, then I'm not dying in vain. You know. And he's sitting there and he's like, I'm sorry, I can't keep my promise to you. And he's like, I promised that I was gonna stay alive. I can't keep my promise. But this is going to give you the ability to go off and finish what we all set it out for. And that again, that's another one that it hits you right there because he spent so much time trying to push her and motivate her because she went through so much darkness and he didn't want to pile on, but he ended up doing it anyway. So, man, great series though. It was a great recommendation.
Yeah.
Great.
Any final thoughts on it? Like, or just like got like random things that are like, I like this. I actually like this.
Final thought, man. I think it's a show everybody should see. I know it's difficult for some people to go back in time with the way that anime looks now.
Yeah, and especially with an epic, like we've discussed, like here and there with Bleach, with Kingdom, with recently One Piece. Like shows are like, yeah, I'm surprised I haven't caught up yet. But my God, so many episodes.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just like so many. It's not. This isn't one of those shows. There's what 24, 26 episodes.
24,
So
and it's less than Full Metal. So hey,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's a you can binge this for sure. Um, it is dark. It's very dark. but I think it is very topical, and I think it's educational in a way too.
It's a, it
Again, like you
it
said,
is at least like how like I mentioned earlier with South America, it's like the history of revolution is very foreign for America. Even
oh
though
yeah,
we've had American Revolution, even though Civil War is technically revolution as well, there's a subduedness that we're so used to the structure. We have smartphones, you know, we're
mhm,
occupied with our own problems in life. It's just how the system is. But that one little crack to that moment where that one person organizes something to stop the evil, stop the corruption in our lives. It's more than like it's a possibility that could come.
yeah, it is. It's like I keep telling people, man, the United States as we know it is a very, very young country in the context of the world.
Hmm.
So we have so much to learn from and go through. And this show shows you what it's like. It shows you what it's like, and the people here can get sick. I mean, people can get fed up here. It's not like outside the realm of possibilities. I mean, people that we're paying a ridiculous amount of money for groceries. I can't go to the grocery store without spending $200
Yeah,
at
yeah.
this point for
And
basic essentials.
what was the original American Revolution? Over taxes.
Hmm. Over taxes. So it's like, we got what was the stat? However many billionaires now?
Yeah, it's the most ever, like the
150
most
billion.
generational wealth ever. Yeah,
It's so many billionaires. And for what? For what? When you could have this single payer healthcare system where, people will be able to save money. You can still have your private insurance, but why are we this advanced nation and we don't have universal healthcare? So then when, Luigi shoots somebody and people aren't feeling bad, they're just identifying with them like, yeah, you go, guy. That something small like that is starting to plant the seeds of revolution, you know? And this show shows you like how how much of a toll revolution takes on everybody.
yeah, and like I mentioned, like violence is like that last answer, and this is like you know, like it's cute and to have a Che Guevara's t-shirt or whatever, but
Mm.
it's sacrifice.
Yeah,
That your
yeah,
friends or family are gonna die. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, man, and that sacrifice it means everything. You're not sacrificing for you're sacrificing for the cause. And that cause needs to continue. So you gotta have somebody that's going to carry that torch. And then that person's gotta have somebody that's going to carry the torch. And you just gotta keep pushing and pushing and pushing because it's not something that's going to happen overnight. And again, it's something that's got to happen on multiple fronts.
yeah,
Not
it,
only that, but you got to have allies on the inside too.
yeah. And well, me and Jamal have been watching Orb,
Yes.
like the idea of faith. Like it'll be
Mhm.
okay on my reach in the near future as long as I do this right here, right now.
Oh man, and that last episode of Orb was
That
man,
was
that was
that was the most philosophical of them all. It was
yeah,
like that moment, like, okay, I like what you guys did there.
yeah.
I
It's
don't
so
blame you.
philosophical. It really is. Like when you first told me about this, I'm like, why does Jack have me watching this philosophy show? Like, and it's such a great show. What's that podcast? They just followed us. And the anime DJs. Shout
Okay,
out to
cool.
you guys. Like the one of the I think Tyler on there really likes the show too, and we were like kind of going back and forth on it. And it's such a good show, man. But it's so dense and it's heavy, but it's so good. It's very well animated, even though I mean it's Netflix, so they're kind of heavy handed on the CGI 3D stuff.
Mm,
But it's such a good show, but it's heavy. it's heavy, and a lot of people aren't going to be into that, but it's such an important piece. Like I'm so glad that they're animating it and it's getting a long season because it really is a good show. It's very important.
Yeah, at the end of the day, a story being told,
Yeah.
and tying back with Akame Ga Kill, it's just a story.
Hmm.
It's just so fascinating and phenomenal what they do with history and what they do with the concept of revolution.
Yeah.
Like it's the number one I can think of. Uh, One of my all-time favorite stories and books and movies is Motorcycle Diaries. Speaking of Che
Yeah.
Guevara, his
Mhm.
background just being an idealistic doctor traveling around South America, but meeting people, talking with people, and knowing their struggles. And communism, kind of like, you know what? That's kind of not a bad idea, at least for Latin America. So it's one of those things where, like, once anime fans there just semi-casual to really eager to finish the medium.
Mhm.
Akame Ga Kill is that benchmark. It is that anime that
Absolutely.
people have to jump onto to at least get the sphere of
Mhm.
things of what anime can teach you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not heavy-handed in its teaching either. It's very entertaining. So, like you said, like Full Metal Alchemist fan, you should watch it. Um,
Attack on Titan.
that was you. Attack on Titan. If you like that, watch Akame Ga Kill. I mean, it's very similar in tone, very similar in theme. Um, it's um, and again, it's a show that I can definitely see myself going back and watching again at some point because watching through one time, like I said, it was like it took a while for me to get into it, but once I got into it, I was so thoroughly engaged in it, and before I knew it, it was the end, and I'm like, oh, there's no more. Like I kind of want to see what happens after they win.
Yeah,
Like
or
how do they being
check
at
out
the
the
top now?
yeah, or check out the manga with
Hmm.
Zero, where it talks about Akame's origins.
Hmm.
It's silly. She joins like a killer girl troop. Not exactly like uh they hunt down like top officials. Nothing special, but it is what it is kind of story.
It's funny because I was reading about the show afterwards, and I guess like the creator of the show or the manga like came out with another series, and Akame showed up in there for like an episode or two.
Okay, interesting. Huh, like a
Yeah,
cameo. Mhm.
yeah, yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. 'Cause it's just so interesting because you see these like shared universes
The idea
because
of
you
shared universes.
the
Yeah.
idea of shared universes with Bleach and Burn the Witch
Well,
and
now with random freeing and reincarnated as a slime.
yeah, I think that's supposed to this like a video game crossover or something.
It seems like a like weird like because there's like mini episode like OVA like random side bit sideshow type of
Mm,
projects like Attack on Titan they did like the school one whatever.
yeah, junior high or something.
Yeah, something in that vein. Like, okay, they're just gonna have an
Mm.
interaction, and Free's gonna discover what reincarnated into another world is.
It's so interesting. Like I wish there was more like crossovers like that because I think that's really cool.
They're just harmless, like something in that
Mm.
vein. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because I could absolutely see freeing in the slime world. Absolutely. Um, but yeah, those were my final thoughts, man. Your final thoughts on the show?
Oh, they're pretty much set in stone. I'm glad that you finally checked it out. And
I
yeah,
did. I did.
yeah.
So Ernie, we're waiting on your review of Orb.
And
Uh,
Akame got killed.
and Akame got killed. You know what? I'll suggest that one to him too, and
Yeah,
see if he watch it.
yeah. I'm trying to think. Like, I can imagine him like processing it. Like, why is she wearing a squirrel girl outfit?
Yeah, see, that's the thing.
How's that one like in a nutshell? I was like, I don't get why they're wearing modern clothes. I'm like, you ever played
But
Final Fantasy? I don't know what to tell you.
it's that's just kind of the culture, though.
Yeah, it's just
So
the time frame
that's
too.
the
Yeah.
that's the little bit of fan service.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
even freeing with all like what they have with fantasy and the old school like
mm,
nature and stuff. She wears a scarf that she could have gotten from like Marshall
yeah, yeah.
Fields or something. So, you know.
So it's interesting because was it that did Himmel give her that scarf?
Oh, good question.
I think that scarf was a gift. If I'm not mistaken, I think that scarf
Could have
was a
been from Fern. Maybe it was from Fern, or
yeah,
or
maybe it was from Fern.
I'm thinking Fern.
Yeah, I remember. I think the scarf was a gift.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was from though.
Yeah, and then
But,
yeah. Then Stark
mm,
gave her the earring, right? Or necklace.
something like that.
Yeah, jewelry. Or
Yeah.
circlet. It was a circlet, I think.
Oh man. But yeah, I'm looking forward to season two of Friend, um, and Apothecary. We hope to hear our friends in it again, and on to the next one.
Alrighty.
So we'll be seeing you. And you know what? I'm mad that you gave up your number one show of the year. Yeah, you're
You knew
supposed
it.
to save
You
it,
you, kn-
but I was.
you
Yeah,
you
I
called the during the
gotta.
panel.
Yeah. I figured that was gonna be your number one show of the year.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's cool. But anyways, thanks for joining us. Thanks for staying on with me, Jack, and talking that over. We'll be back soon with our top shows of 2024. And we have another interview lined up in the beginning of 2024. So you'll be hearing back from us soon, people. Jack, thanks for coming out of retirement again. We appreciate you, boss.
Alrighty. Take it easy,
All right.
guys.
Peace.